Hi, I'm John with the Christian Century, and I'm joined today by one of our Voices columnists, Julian DeShazier, who wrote a piece for us recently about clergy burnout. The article is called The Little Engine That Needed Collaborators. We are going to be talking about that today, but first, Julian, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Well, thank you, John, and hello to everyone. I am a pastor, first and foremost, here on Chicago's South Side, and love God and God's people, and also a musician. That voice was probably in me before anything else, and that informs some of this article. We'll probably get into it, but a musician and also the director of experiential education at McCormick Theological Seminary in Chicago as well, and so a lot of different identities all come together to make one me.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that you writes for the Christian Century, so thanks. Okay, this article is about pastors who are struggling right now. And, you gave some data about how pervasive this issue is right now in our country. I'm curious, just as a pastor, is this something you're dealing with personally that you're observing in your colleagues? I'd love to just hear maybe a sense of what this is looking like in your life right now.
Yeah, the data is just one piece of it, and it didn't drive certainly my thinking about the article or wanting to share it with folks. I think where it started was a truth that is within me that I've experienced in my 12 plus years now as pastor, University Church. Great folks, and not but, and like many churches, kind of have this sense of pastor does it, pastor's going to take care of it, and a lot of different things. And they're probably better than most, but I think a lot of places really struggle with the sense of who is this pastor? Like, we have a pastor, who is this person? And what do we need of them? And what do we expect of them? And the ways in which pastors take on those identities and they come from our own experiences and stuff like that, it really just causes us to overfunction. Like, when we boil down to everything, like, it means that we overfunction a lot. And that was something that was really a part of my tradition. I grew up seeing pastors that overfunctioned and worked really hard. And then in pastoring, I thought that that was just a result of, most of it is theological, right? Most of all of this is theological. I want to say that, but it comes from this place of believing, like, if I'm working hard and if I feel really tired, that I'm doing this virtuous work, right? If I'm suffering, this is virtuous in some kind of way. That's theological. We can draw that direct line to Jesus and the cross, and we often do that. And so when I was finding myself tired and doing too much and kind of hands in everything, I kind of thought that was the right way. That meant I was doing well. That means I was functioning properly. But the reality was that I was over functioning for a lot of probably the first half of my pastorate, and had to quickly come to realize that, like, there's some rooms that you don't need to be there. Like, you don't need to do this. You actually don't need to be over there doing that or over there doing that, and so I often tell people who are entering into ministry, who there's a group recently who asked me what my greatest failure is. And I told them the story, and I could share it here, but let's not even worry about it. I'll tell you why it happened, though. I'll tell you why it happened. And it happened because I was doing things that I had no business doing. Not from an ethical standpoint, but just like from a no, other people in the congregation should have been working on this. This was not the pastor's work. That I should not have been accountable to doing that. But in some ways, I made myself accountable. The congregation allowed that to happen, all of that, and it just turned into a real disaster. A disaster that came from overfunctioning, like a very preventable disaster. you know
Yeah.
so um so then you just look at data, and it just helps to show that a lot of pastors are burning out because they're doing too much. But I know it deep in my body, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that, Julian. I'm sure a lot of readers are reading your article or listening to you now and thinking, why is it so? Why are churches functioning this way and pastors? And you mentioned some of the theological reasons that maybe get pastors to this point. I'm curious if there are other reasons that come to mind. Why do you think congregations wind up at this place of viewing their pastors like rock stars, as you mentioned in the article? rather than maybe people that they want to collaborate with.
Yeah, I do think that it is mostly theological. I don't want to avoid the question, but I do think that like most of our inclinations about a pastor and who they are and what they should be doing and how we should lift them up um, come out of theologies. Now, they might not be biblically sound theologies, but they are certainly sound within the tradition that all of us are in, whether black, white, or, regardless of ethnicity or class or anything. Like we look at that pastor, we give them that little rock star kind of vibe to them, because, and part of this is also this the sort of the sociology in me coming out, when somebody presents within a community and has insight and offers this kind of mystical perspective, they can also be looked at as a kind of magic person, a kind of special person. And this happens, in tribes. It happens in congregations, corporations. It happens all over the place. Where when people start to show in that kind of way, they get a little bit of a different something from the rest of the community, and so that power and that authority certainly belongs to the pastor as well, when on a weekly basis we're offering up these insights that may or may not be hitting home, but if they are resonating, it's like, wow, this person did this for me. And some of that is not even theological. It's just like, this person helped me just now, like, and you bump them up a little bit, and in a lot of other ways, if we find ourselves vulnerable and thinking that we're not okay and that we need help, and we're in the congregation and in the pews thinking of ourselves as not okay, then we tend to see that person as okay. Oh, well, they're okay, I'm not. And so I can't collaborate with them. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not together enough yet. And so some of this is the ways in which we give power and authority out of our own insecurity, and the failure of many pastors to acknowledge their own vulnerabilities and truths about where they are in particular situations, so that people can look at them and say, okay, you're on this journey with me, instead of, you are carrying me to wherever I need to go, or you're carrying us. Because we play into that. It strokes the ego. It feels good, but it's not the gospel. And we don't, if you look for that kind of behavior in Jesus, you're just not going to find it anywhere.
Yeah, this is good. I'm a pastor too. I'm going to send this video to all my pastor friends. I think we need to hear this. So, final thing I wanted to ask you. We've gotten quite a few letters to the editor on topics, some of the topics you covered in this article, and I'm thinking of one recently from someone who just really struggling as serving, and I couldn't even tell in the letter if they had quit or were just thinking they're about to quit. But I'm curious if you just have any words to share with folks who might be listening to this, who might be in ministry, having a really tough time this season. Just would love for you to speak to anyone in that situation.
Yeah, I know that place for sure. And so here's what I'm not gonna do. I would be betraying my grandfather and my grandparents, who always felt like, if you got a job, you better keep that job and be quiet. So I'm not gonna say quit your job. That's not what I'm here to say. But as we have our positions and what we're doing, how can we be thinking not just about, oh, I'm getting paid a lot or a little, whatever. I have a job, I have this kind of security, but do I have health? And which matters more to me? I want health. I want health. And there's something about what I'm doing right now that isn't healthy. And it might be like I wrote and described that, you're doing too much, and nobody's helping you do it. And we burn out in that kind of way. But there are many reasons why we might not be healthy right now. And we have to have the courage to be still and look at ourselves and provide insight into our own selves, a reflection, hold the mirror to our own selves to see what's going on. And so what I encourage is a little bit of stillness, and some good. We might not have a lot of help in the congregation, but we also might have some clergy colleagues we can reach out to and have some conversation with. So we might not have the village at the church quite how we want it, but can we begin to establish a village around us and outside of that space of people who can be our allies and accomplices toward our health? Not even partners in doing ministry together, but just like, hey, I need to talk about something that I'm going through. Like I need to think through something. Can you help me do that? And so having peers in ministry and having the opportunity to be still enough to listen to what's going on within us, like oftentimes we get to that place of burnout because we never stopped. We just never stopped. We just kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going because we told ourselves we had to. And at a certain point, we have to realize that what I think Sabbath teaches us is that we can take care of ourselves during. We don't have to wait until after to take care of ourselves. Like health happens while, during. We are breathing right now while this is happening. We're not holding our breath and waiting to breathe after this conversation is done, right? Like you're watching this, you're still breathing, like you're still taking care of yourself. And so, how can we do that in our work and in our ministry as well? To think about not, oh, I need to wait for the vacation, but like, how can I take care of myself today? How can I take care of myself and my health today with no vacation, with a list full of to-dos, feeling overwhelmed by work that's to come or prepping for whatever, like, but still there's something I can do and I must take responsibility for my own health because they might not.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Julian. This has been really great to chat. Those of you out there who are watching this video, if you haven't read the article, the link will be below in the video description. We're also going to throw the link down there where you can listen to Julian's music. He performs hip hop as the artist Jay Quest. So thank you so much for being here today and chatting, Julian.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks so much. And much love to all the readers of the Christian Century. Let's keep going together.